everybody. Daniel Allison, the average dude. Welcome to Bus Ride. Welcome to Bus Ride number 451 on the Energy Bus. First sip. Good morning, Freddie Blanton.
Good morning, Danny, the average dude Allison. I hope you are feeling fantastic on what day is it? Pump Day.
That's right. That's right. It's the middle of the week. It's Wednesday, and we don't call this a hump day. We call it a pump day.
Yeah, because what are we going to do? We're going to pump out energy, pump out business, pump out positivity, and pump out a first sip. Let's go!
That's why he's the number one co-host on the East Coast. Let's go. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It feels so good. It hits so right. It's that first sip of coffee, Fred. I did it again. Almost 2 weeks now. That first sip of coffee.
Man.
Made it happen. Let's see who we've got on the bus this morning. We've got a great guest with us, so don't go anywhere. And I hope we have a great group to meet Caleb along with us. Good morning, Antarctic Mike. First sip. Let's go. All the way from San Diego. So we're connecting the world today on the Energy Bus. We're connecting all over the world. So Mike is in San Diego, I think. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Gary. Gary is in Texas. Good morning.
Come on. Where's JoJo?
Joe is in Boston. And hey, we've got a lot of people here in Spartanburg. Our normal riders, we don't see them out there. Hopefully they're making it to the bus stop. Hey, there's JK. Who said down under? Good day, everyone. Hey, that's Vietnam, man. That's fantastic. Let's go.
I thought it was Cambodia.
Cambodia. Ooh,
Megan
yeah.
Brown.
That's it. Megan Brown, good morning. Good to see Megan Brown here when she gets on the bus. And there's Julie. Awesome. There's DJ too. First sip up. Let's get it. Let's get it. Hey, tell me about your morning, Fred. Tell me about did you do a D1 this morning?
I did. Yeah. 5 o'clock workout. I like to get there about 4:50 and lay in the floor for a little bit.
Ooh.
Whine and cry and try to stretch. And then at 5 o'clock it's on.
Hey, now when you go into D1, do they write the workout that you're going to do on the board, or does she tell you after you're in there?
It is on the board if you want to look at it.
Yeah.
They also have an app that I can check the night before.
Now let me ask you, do you check the app, and does the workout ever scare you away or make you want to do it?
Yeah, the harder the better.
The harder the better.
Yeah.
I like that. The harder, the better. And look at Joe. He noticed. Yeah, you asked and we provided, Joe. That's how we do it here on the Energy Bus. So that's fantastic. Hey, now I had asked you a little bit about geography, and you're probably like me. The last time I looked at a world map, I think was geography, 7th grade, something like that. But Australia, you know where it's at on the globe, and that's about it.
Is that land of the blooming onion?
Yeah, land of the blooming onion. If you've been to Outback, you've kind of been there. But yeah, absolutely. I always think of Crocodile Dundee, the movie Crocodile Mundy, as we've called it here before, Crocodile Mundy. And I always think of that show. But the reason I say that, and the reason I bring up your little D1, is I've got a question for you. Have you ever done the rowing machine?
Yes.
Right? The rower. Do you like that exercise?
A few weeks ago, I thought I was going to die on the rower. I looked down and my heartbeat was like 203 or something.
And how long were you on that rower for?
12 seconds.
Exactly 12 seconds. Well, I have done a little bit of reading about our guest and a little bit about his background. He made the Olympics. And we're going to talk to him right now. So today we are joined by Caleb Antill. Olympic bronze medalist, consultant, and entrepreneur. From the waters of Tokyo to the roads of competitive cycling, Caleb continues to push the limits of what's possible. Welcome, Caleb. Good morning.
G'day. Good morning, guys. How are you?
Yeah. So it's a little later in the day, and I think we talked before, and you said you're a morning person, aren't you?
I am, yes. I'm in the future currently. It's 10 p.m. here in Australia on Wednesday, so I'm a little ahead of you, but I am still awake. So you'd be happy to hear that. I do love a morning coffee, and I wish I was in the same time zone, but I can manage.
Yeah, we want you to get your sleep because you've got a lot going on. But
Too much.
yeah, you do. Yeah. Do you like keeping a full schedule there, Caleb?
Absolutely, yeah. I can't sit still. I like to describe it as scratching an itch. I've got that itch. I got to be doing something, and yeah, I'm sure you guys feel it a little bit as well. But yeah, I got to be on the ball, always moving.
Yeah. So
Brad,
if you had a cup of coffee right now, would it mess your sleep up?
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have three a day, so it wouldn't be massive, but yeah, it wouldn't help. That's for sure.
Now, I do want to ask you about rowing and getting into it and that sort of thing, but this just popped into my head. When you think about supplements, when you think about things like coffee or any little competitive advantage, I'm sure you heard about everything that's out there. What are your thoughts on that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, when I was doing my best on the Australian team, on the rowing team, we had a pretty old school coach, and he had a bit of a philosophy of if it's legal, we're doing it. And so, yeah, more or less for that period of time, every different way, shape or form, you could take something to make you faster. I was doing it. And so, yeah, I've tried it all. A lot of it does work. But I guess, yeah, more or less just settled on the coffee at the moment. I like just being a bit alert, but the rest of it's a bit much for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I guess when you get on that level of competitiveness, when we're talking about the Olympics, and we're going to talk specifically about the sport because it's a very interesting sport, but when you think about how well, I lost my train of thought there, but we're going to, I forgot where I was going to
Olympics.
What's that?
I think you were gonna ask me about just trying to get the tiniest edge on your component competitor. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. And at the Tokyo Olympics, it was 0.8 of a second between the top 5 boats. So those little tiny margins, they matter a lot in the end.
Absolutely. Let's see what kind of comments we've got here. What kind of day, since you're in the future, Caleb, what kind of day do we have today? Do we have a good day?
Yeah, it was a great day today. Nice autumn day here in Canberra. It was, probably started a bit cold, but warmed up.
Absolutely.
Now, how has your training changed? Do you still train a lot, physically fit? You're still into it? What does that look like now?
Yeah, absolutely. I do a lot of cycling. I'm in the gym most days these days because I'm in a bit of an off period from full on training. So, but yeah, I love to keep fit. I feel like I got to be doing something. I'm so used to it. I did it for 10 years straight, pretty much. And for big components of that, I was doing 3 sessions a day of training. And so it's just sort of like baked into my brain. I got to be doing something physical.
Absolutely. So you made it to the Olympics, and I want to kind of learn a little bit. I learned a little about rowing, but it's a very interesting sport. What drew you to rowing in the beginning?
Yeah, well, I guess my first rowing experience was through my mum. That she rowed. And actually, in some boats, the big boats that go really fast, that have 8 people in them, you have someone who steers it. They're called a coxswain, and that's what I did. So I was young and small enough to fit in the seat to steer the boat, and so that's sort of my first memory. And then I did it through school. I was pretty good, but not great. I didn't quite make the team. Then I had a bit of a break, and I came back. My first go at it, I came last. At the trial regatta, but then next year I managed to break in. So yeah, I guess it was through my family that I started doing it, and then sort of took it as far as I could.
I love that. Now, I didn't know what's the name of the person that sits on the front of the boat again?
They're in the back of the boat, but they're called a coxswain.
Oh, they're called a coxswain, and their job is to basically be lightweight, to be a coach on the boat, to keep everybody rowing at the right pace. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a weight limit, so they have to be as a minimum of 55 kilos, so they can't be any lighter than that. And then, their job is to keep everyone coordinated. So they have a microphone and there's speakers in the boat so people can hear what they're saying. And then they also steer. So there's a rudder in the back of the boat and they have, a way to steer. So they keep the boat dead center in the middle of the lane. And so in other boats that don't have coxswains, that rudder is attached to someone's foot, and they point their foot to steer the boat. But because the aid is so big and it goes so fast, they need someone to be steering it. It would be too dangerous without someone in there.
Wow.
Now, within the past year, I remember seeing people on the boat while other people were rowing, and they were playing this loud music and they were dancing as they were doing the chants or something.
Yeah, that's probably dragon boating. I don't think that's rowing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a different sport, I think.
Yeah. It got popular out of nowhere, and I thought, what? Hey, this sport's clicking now.
Yeah. I think that's something a little different. Yeah.
They gave it a little something, but it's amazing to see when you have a group, everybody working together, staying in that same pace. And as I learned about this, rowing is actually the oldest sport like around, correct? Like it was one of the first competitive sports around, wasn't it, Caleb?
Yeah, I'm not sure about one of the first, but it's extremely old. Yes.
Yeah.
There's a huge history. There are some regattas. They call a racing event a regatta. And there's some that have been going for 150 years. So it's a really old sport. There's a lot of history, especially in Europe. It's massive in Europe. There's a regatta called Henley in the UK where it's match racing, so it's 1v1 racing, and if you lose, you're eliminated, and so it's this tournament that you have to go through. You have to win every race to get to the final, and then you win this little red box. That race has been around for over 100 years, and there's all these pomp and ceremony, like you can only get in if you know someone, and all this ridiculous stuff that goes on. But I think that, it's a big part of the sport is the tradition.
Oh yeah. So let's read what I lost you guys there for a second. I hope I'm back.
You're back.
I watched a few head of the river. He'll know what I mean when at school. Damn exciting spectator sport too. Are you familiar with Head of the River?
Yeah, that's probably he's referring to one of the big school regattas here in Australia where, the biggest schools all come together and race each other. And quite often those big schools force all their students to go and watch. So there's literally thousands of people there watching. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Tell me about the last 500 meters. So when you went to the Olympics, you won a bronze medal at I forget which Olympics it was, but you won a bronze medal. You had 3 other rowers with you, and you've got 2 oars. Tell me about that race. Tell me about when you won the medal, let's say, in the last 500 meters, what that feels like as an athlete.
Yeah, well, I guess, so it was the Tokyo Olympics, the COVID Olympics that got delayed 1 year. So it was supposed to be in 2020, but it was in 2021. And the course was quite windy, and it was a predominantly tailwind. So it was really fast. And then towards the end, because the waves have time to build up, by the time you got to the end of the race, it was really rough. So especially in that last 500 meters, it was crazy. You're trying to get your oars to come out over the water. They're splashing left, right, and center. People are taking dirty strokes, and the boats are smashing side to side. You can see in the footage a bunch of other boats have a bit more issues than us, and they almost come to a standstill. And there's all this movement going on. So the Dutch crew who won, they set the world record in our race. So it was the fastest race ever. I think we were the 3rd fastest ever. because we beat the previous world record as well. And that last 500 meters, like I said, it was 0.8 of a second. There were 5 boats, so everyone's side by side coming into that last bit. And obviously, being the COVID Olympics, there was no crowd. But I think even if there was one, I wasn't hearing it. I was just laser focused on the guy in front of me, making sure I'm following exactly what he does, because the timing, doing it together is the most important thing. And we always had a really good finish in training, so I knew that the guys were going to come through. And we managed to wind it up really nicely and come through a few crews to win that bronze medal. But the last 500 with the waves and the wind, it was nuts.
Yeah.
The pain.
Where do you have to go to mentally?
Yeah.
For that last 500 meters.
That's where I was going. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's an interesting question, because I guess in my head, I don't know. I've already made the decision that I'm just going to go as hard as I can. That there's no like, I don't even think I'm registering pain. I'm more registering like, can I keep going? Or like, could I do more? That's pretty much all I'm thinking. I don't think it's in my head. I've already decided that I'm going to give it 100%. And it's not going to make a difference if someone says something to me or whatever it might be. I've already made that decision that I'm just going to absolutely squeeze the lemon, and just get the boys to the line, as best as I can.
I love that. You're all in regardless of what you're feeling, and it's always just one more. It sounds like one more, and until I finish, and that's when I know I'm done.
That's it. Always look for more, but make sure that you get to the line, I guess.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So Daniel, Joe has the oldest sport here.
I like it. Thank you for bringing that up. Running is the oldest, Daniel. There you go. Yeah. You had to outrun your prey and also be least faster than the slowest person. That's exactly right. I knew it was old, but it was around. I think there was 2 colleges that had a match, and that was like one of the first competitive sports between colleges or something like that. But it's so interesting. There's so many different sports on the Olympics, and you take any one of them and you really see how impressive it is, and the athletes and what they're doing and how much training that goes into it. And even that coxswain that sits on the boat in a competitive situation, that's got to be a tough gig, because you've got a small person that's basically yelling out orders to the rest of the athletes. Is that not right?
Yeah, that's right. I'm actually marrying a coxswain at the end of this year. So funny you ask that question. But yes, her job is very intense, and it's a very interesting thing to think about, because I guess while she is a physical athlete in the way that she has to steer the boat, and there is a massive skill component to that, she also needs to be a mental athlete. That she has to be communicating well. She has to have good relationships with people. Like it's a sport, but it's a very different looking one. But at the same time, she faces the same pressure, the same training load. No, she has to be out there doing it every day. It's really interesting, but it's extremely similar.
Yeah, man, that's fantastic. And so you're decided to marry somebody within the sport. That's pretty good, man.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we met through the sport, and then she actually went to the Paris Olympics. She coxed the men's 8 at the Paris Olympics. And I went over and watched her, and then a few days afterwards, I proposed in Paris. So nice. We're finally getting around to
not only is he an Olympic athlete, he's a romantic.
That's it. I couldn't get it wrong.
Down.
That's it. I couldn't get it wrong in Paris. No matter how I did it, it would have been great. So.
Oh man, that is awesome. But rowing took you a lot of places. You got to travel a lot. You got to see. You've been to the United States, I'm sure.
That's right. Yeah, I went to Florida. I raced in Sarasota. That was in 2017. So a while ago now. But yeah, I got to travel all over the place. A lot of Europe, Italy. I spent a lot of time there because Australia has a training facility there. And then a lot of the racing's in Europe. So spent a lot of time there. But yeah, got to fly all over the place. It was awesome. All the things I got to see and people I got to meet. A massive part of my life, that's for sure.
Absolutely. But all great things unfortunately come to an end, and you had to kind of segue out of the rowing, and you've actually taken up another sport talk to folks about how you made that kind of that move into something else. And then you got some entrepreneurial things going on too, but we're talking a lot of sports this morning.
Yeah. So I started cycling sort of last year. And yeah, someone put it to me that in track cycling, there's an event that's a 4-kilometer pursuit. And so it takes about 4 minutes. And that's a similar duration to a rowing event. So rowing's maybe 6 or 7 minutes. So the actual training and the physiology needed to compete in that event is very similar. And also being a bigger athlete is advantageous, which it isn't usually in cycling. And so I decided that I'd give it a bit of a go. And so, yeah, sort of for the last sort of year and a half, I've been doing that. And I managed to come 8th in Australia in the event. That was a few weeks ago.
Nice.
But yeah, kind of in a bit of a, do I keep going sort of phase at the moment. So yeah, we'll see how that all pans out.
Yeah. Got the engine working on the technique on the bike now, right?
Yeah, huge technical component to it, that's for sure. Very different having to ride on a bike that has no gears, and learn how to ride, a couple centimeters behind the person in front of you while you're looking down, and all the skills required to do that it was a lot to take on. And yeah, it was awesome to feel like I was a beginner again, that's for sure. Asking my 15-year-old training partners, 16-year-old training partners for advice was always good.
A little humbling, yeah. A former Olympic athlete, now he's going to ask us how to do it. I love it.
Yeah, and they were always happy to help, so that was good.
Yeah. How does this translate into business, Caleb?
Yeah, well, I think a big part of that is what I talked about earlier about having that itch, something to scratch, something to do to stay occupied. So I work in tech as a consultant, and I guess last year I wanted to learn a bit more about how AI could actually solve problems for people rather than just be hype, which we see a lot of. And so I guess I came up with a bit of an application where the rubber would actually meet the road and it would actually solve a bit of a problem. So my obsession for the last 6 months has been this app called TalkTrade. And pretty simply, it takes a voice recording and it turns it into a professional document for people who work in the field in construction. They're the people that don't want to be tapping on a screen, typing on a keyboard, that they're on the go, they're using their hands. So just to be able to say what they've done out loud and have it written down in a formal report would be a huge time saver for them. I've been building it.
And you've done a great job. I actually got a little sneak peek of this app, and it's TalkTrade. And the neat thing about what you've built is you've got a bookends on it, right? It's a completed product. A lot of these things, look, everybody uses AI. It does cool stuff. But when we need it within an application where we're within a business application, it needs to work point to point, right? Everybody's on the same page, just like the rowers, right? They've got to be on the same page. But I think your app does a great job of simplifying the tech for technicians to be able to and shorten the amount of time. Tell us a little more about that. And Fred, if you've got any questions too, tell us a little bit more about the problem that you saw within the industry, Caleb.
Yeah, well, I guess the big thing is that a lot of service technicians have to do service reporting extremely regularly. If they're servicing units, they have to do a report afterwards to make sure that the back office knows what they've done, and then they can charge the client accordingly. But having to stop and type through a form is probably the last thing that a service technician wants to be doing. And to be able to just say what they did, how they would normally communicate with a mate or a colleague. They could just describe what they've done. If they replaced a filter or cleaned something, whatever it might be, it's really easy just to say it out loud rather than think, how should I type this in? How should I say it? What sounds professional? How do I spell this? So instead of thinking all those things and having to make all those decisions, they can just say it. It can be a bit rough, it can be half finished, and the AI will put it all together and phrase it correctly. So it just completely removes a lot of those steps. You won't have to proofread it, you won't have to spell check it, and it'll map to the fields, instantly. And if you've got boxes you need to tick and tests you need to do and whatever it is, you can say all tests pass and it'll tick all the boxes. And, if there's yes, no questions, it'll just select the right thing. And so there's just, so many layers of time saving that, I think it's a massive opportunity.
Yeah. Well, I just think about these guys out here working on Bobcat equipment. And when they're done, they got to sit there and write up this entire sheet of what they've done. And then they got to hand it to somebody who has to translate that.
Yep.
And then type it in for the customer.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
We're talking about time savings and money that could make a drastic difference.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And people, and Fred, think about it. Like you know it from that, and I know it from the HVAC world when I was in that world. You've got a technician, maybe he makes 4 or 5 service calls in a day. Now he comes back, he's got 4 or 5 sheets of paper. His handwriting may or may not be legible. He may use language that they're not familiar with.
Yep.
And then another thing, then the manager might call him. Uh-oh. Yeah, I skipped out there. That's the sign that you're talking too much. When your computer goes out and says, "Hey, we're cutting you off. We're cutting you off." But I think it's so. Where do you go now with that app? What's your kind of vision for Talk Trade, Caleb?
Yeah, well, my vision, I guess, is to establish reasonably strong proof of concept and have a lot of people using it and get some really good responses from them. And then I think that the plan might be to go to these big providers that already exist, because I think a lot of construction businesses, big ones, already have a software that they use. And, building an entire CRM is probably not something I want to be doing. And so I guess being able to, maybe provide the service to those big providers, I think maybe is the long-term vision.
Gotcha. Yeah. So right now you may be looking for companies that would want to test trial the app. Is that what we're looking for?
Yeah, for sure. And it outputs a PDF, and the PDF will be, ready to send to a client. It looks very professional, and you could attach it to whatever system you currently use. And obviously that's 10 steps ahead of a handwritten note. I've heard the use case of, someone would record an audio description of what they've done, and then the back office has to listen to that, write it down, and so this completely removes all of those steps. And so, I am absolutely looking for people who'd be interested in trialing it and giving feedback. And I think that I've already got a lot of people very interested, which is great. And just trying to refine it as much as possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's fantastic. I think it's a great kind of angle too. It's you saw a problem, you solved the problem with AI, and then built a complete system where there's no ambiguity there, right? All these AI products, it's like, oh, you can do this, but then what, right? And how do I get everybody to do it? So
what does that even mean is quite often, they just say a bunch of buzzwords and you're like,
yeah,
that sounds great, but I don't know what that means. Like, how does that actually solve the problem? Whereas, my app takes a voice recording and gives you a document. There's no ambiguity there. It's.
It doesn't overcomplicate the process, and that's the problem right now. The service reports will go through a couple of people's hands. There'll be a couple of conversations, and at the end of the day, we'll have the sheet of paper that the AI is going to give us. I mean, that is what we're talking about here. So awesome stuff. I love it. I love the mindset. I love pushing through the pain. I love staying busy, finding things to do. It's what we talk about on this show all the time, Caleb. So thank you for joining us this morning.
No worries. Thanks very much. And I hope you have a great day.
Absolutely. And we're going to give Fred for the final thought on today's festivities.
Well, it's actually going to be a question for Caleb.
Oh.
I have a 13-year-old, and at this point, people will ask him, hey, what are you going to be when you grow up? What do you want to do? So I want you to go back to that 13-year-old.
Ooh.
And somebody would ask you, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? What was your answer?
Geez, that is a tough one. I mean, I do think that, being an Olympian is such a big part of my identity. So that would be it for me, because, I love sport. But I'd say that whatever your 13-year-old loves doing, I think that, they should just pursue that as much as they can. So it depends, I think, is the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were sitting on the front, or sitting on that boat with your family, and you were watching them do something, and you fell in love with that sport at that point, and that planted the seed, and you had that vision and you worked towards it. And I think all of us kind of have those opportunities. If we have kids, show them things, see what lights them up, and then give them an opportunity to build towards that. Caleb, thanks again. Thanks to all the bus riders. Caleb said we had a great day. Now we got to go live it, right?
Do it.
All right. Hey, have a great day. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.